What's up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about getting paid. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the big mistakes that contractors make when they're billing insurance jobs. Listen, if you own a restoration company and you're tired of getting nickel and dime and getting paid actually matters to you, you do not want to miss this video. Let's go. All right, guys, as we jump in here, let me give you an overview about what all you can expect in this video. The first thing is this. You need to understand why insurance companies stretch out the getting paid process and exactly how much money they make as a result. We're going to touch on that in this video. We're also going to explain to you what you can do to speed up the process of getting paid. And some of the mistakes is actually giving them an invoice. They don't want an invoice. They want an estimate. I will show you how to create an estimate that makes more money than your typical invoice would otherwise. I know it doesn't make sense. That's why you got to watch it. And another thing, here's a big mistake that a lot of contractors make, and I did a long time myself, which was we over-documented everything that we did. We always thought that if we gave them every detail, that would help our case, when in fact, it's exactly the opposite. Less is more, and we'll touch on that. And then lastly, I'm just going to show you some things that you can do to avoid pushback and how you can get paid more quickly. So with no further ado, let's hop in.
So if you've ever struggled getting paid for water damage restoration projects, specifically mitigation, then this video is for you, okay? And what I want to be able to really tell you or ask you rather is this. Why is it that you think it's hard to get paid for water damage restoration projects? Okay, so we can start with what I would call is the elephant in the room, which is this. Insurance companies, they're not evil people, okay? Here's the problem. They have a fiduciary responsibility, and a fiduciary is another way to say a legal obligation, because the publicly traded companies, they have a legal obligation to their shareholders, okay? These shareholders are people that give them money. They invest money in the company. And when someone invests money in a publicly traded company, then you have a fiduciary or a legal responsibility to be a good steward of that investment. And the way that that boils down to an insurance company is this. They have a legal obligation not to overpay on a claim. And that's not something that's really hard to understand. I don't think that's up for debate, right? Like if you invest in a fund that has State Farm or Allstate or Liberty Mutual or something like that. If you invest into something and they have money invested in those companies, you would not want the companies that you invest in to just piss the money away, right? That doesn't make them bad people, okay? What they do to their insureds, now that's what makes them bad people, but I digress, okay? But the core issue is they have a legal obligation not to overpay on a claim. Can we agree on that? So drop a comment down below and just say, we agree. If you agree with that, just say we agree. And if you don't agree, drop a comment and let me know why. I'm genuinely curious about your stance, okay? But so let's just take that at face value for a moment, that they do have that obligation not to overpay on a claim. What does that really mean, right? Well, here's the thing. If they have a legal obligation not to overpay on a claim, then by definition, they also have a legal obligation to pay as little as possible on that claim. They have a legal obligation to pay as little as possible on that claim. Now, why is that? Because if your obligation is not to overpay on it, and if you could have closed that claim out for $5,000, but instead you close it out for $6,000, that's violating your legal obligation. So here's the deal, guys. What I want you to know is this. If you turn in this $8,000 invoice and they cut it down to $4,000, and you ultimately, if you finally accept $6,000 on that $8,000, then it was never $8,000 to begin with. It was always $6,000. Are we clear? And they owe what the damages are. And if there were never $8,000 of damages, then $6,000 is all there was. Okay. Hopefully that is clear for you. Okay. Hopefully that's clear for you. They owe for damages or cost incurred, and whatever is ultimately paid on the claim, okay, that is what the damages are. So if there's a $10,000 invoice and they pay $5,000, okay, and you accept $5,000, it was never 10, it was always 5. But if you say it's 10 and they say it's 5, but you go get the other 5 from the customer, now it's $10,000. Or said differently, if you go get another 4 from the customer and the customer says, hey, I paid another 4, you owe me for that difference, then it is now a $9,000 claim, not a $10,000 claim. So I'm trying to show you that they don't owe for estimates of damages, they owe for actual damages. And damages are defined as something that are cost incurred, okay? So that's why they argue, that's why they stretch things out the way that they do. Now, I say all of that is like a 101 level to now tell you this. Here's the reason why documentation isn't the answer. Well, number one, we already stated why. Like, why is it hard to get paid? We just stated that. But secondly, do they ask you for an invoice or do they ask you for a what? Somebody tell me in the comments. Do they ask you for an invoice or do they ask you for an estimate? They can't even say the word invoice, okay? It's like a derogatory term, okay? It is like a slur. It's like a curse word. They can't say the word invoice. Why is that? Because an invoice, it insinuates that these are costs of actual damages. An invoice is typically representative of work that is already done. And if it's already done, then therefore is no longer negotiable. They ask instead for an estimate because an estimate is work that has not been done, and it may not actually be that. It may not be that. And so, but I want to ask you a question. Do they ask for an invoice or do they ask for an estimate? They ask for an estimate. Okay.
Hey guys, real quick, in case you didn't know, I help people just like you grow and scale your water damage restoration business. If you are interested in me helping you grow and scale your company, go to workwithshane.com. We hop on a 15-minute call to see if we're a good fit. Workwithshane.com. Now, let's go back to the video.
One thing that you should notice is this. If you never turn in an invoice and you only turn in an estimate, and an estimate is delivered before the work is actually done, how could you ever turn in dry logs? If you have not done the project and you are not complete with your work, how can you turn in dry logs when you ain't done the work? I think this is a really good question. And here's what I want you to know. Ultimately, what we wound up doing was we started submitting estimates. We started giving them estimated amounts of money that we thought we would require to perform a project like this. And when we did that, number one, you didn't need dry logs. I'm not telling you I wouldn't get them dry logs, but I'm showing you why you can't even possibly ask for them. And the next thing is this. You should never submit mitigation photos that show work being done and post-mitigation photos, okay, of work done, because the work ain't done when you submit your estimate. It's an estimate. It's an estimate. The work ain't done. It's an estimate. So how do you have actual photos showing it done? Stop showing those photos. Give them what they want, which is an estimate. Are we clear? Now, the next thing I want to tell you is this. If you're not sure that it's going to take 4 days or 7 days, and you're writing an estimate, how many days do you write your estimate for? 4 or 7? You write it for 8 because you're not sure. The next thing y'all need to know this is, guys, estimates should contain something called risk. They should contain risk. Can we say risk? Somebody write comment in the comments, risk. Somebody write risk so I know that you're live. Okay? Estimates should contain risk. Have you ever built a new home? Have you ever bought a house from a builder that was new? I know I have. Once you drew this thing up called a contract. You drew up a contract from Memphis. You drew up a contract on this house. And they told you it would be X amount of dollars, $1.2 million for this house. Okay? That's a legally binding contract. That's an estimate. But you see, they're going to agree for a fixed price as an estimate. Here's what I'm telling you. Did the builder refund you money? as an invoice? Did he give you money back on the tile that wasn't used? Did he give you money back on the shingles thrown in the trash? Did he give you money back on the drywall that was not used? Did he give you money back on the 2x4s that weren't used? No. Why? Because that was an estimate. He gave you a lump sum number on what he said it was going to take. That's a good faith estimate that became a contract, okay? And everything that hits the trash after that, you don't get your money back. And what I'm telling y'all is this: you should give them what they ask for. You should give them an estimate. And that estimate should contain risk. And you don't know if it's going to take 4 days or 6 days, then you're going to write that sucker for 7 days. And when I write my estimates now, okay, it might say we're going to stabilize for 1 to 3 days, and we're going to dry up to 4 days. We're going to perform demolition, a crew perform work in this area, 1 or 2 crews up to 3 days. And that's why you would never, ever, under any circumstance, deliver labor logs on what you actually took, because, bro, you didn't want an invoice. You wanted a estimate. I hope this is helpful for you guys. I hope you're understanding that they ask for one thing and then they demand another, okay? They are talking out of both sides of their mouth, okay? Is that helpful? So it can't be about documentation because you ain't done the job, bro. Not when you turn it in an estimate. And they want an estimate, not an invoice. So if they want an invoice, turn in a documentation. If they want an estimate, bro, we got no documentation. It's a estimate. Let me tell you what I've done. We turn in estimates before we're done, and there ain't never no invoice turned in because they never ask for an invoice, okay? And if they need some dry logs, I'll get them some dry logs. Once they agree to our price, once they agree to pay our price, they will get everything that they want and need. Are we clear? And that, my friend, is how you run a water damage restoration project.
Guys, if you didn't already know, the 2 biggest problems you're going to have in owning a restoration company are this. Number 1, getting consistent water damage jobs coming in the door. Number 2, getting paid what you're worth for those water damage jobs. For that reason, I'm addressing both those problems with these videos to my left or right. On one side, it's about getting jobs. On the other side, it's about getting paid. Go over there, click the link. I'll see you in the next video.